AEW Double or Nothing 2024, 3 horrible booking decisions by AEW Prez, Tony Khan. Now, look, I'll fully admit this show was very good, and that is a common theme with AEW pay-per-view events. You always know you're going to get some of the greatest wrestling on the planet on these shows. You also know they're going to be extraordinarily long. This show was like a 5-hour show. Tony Khan obviously bought extra pay-per-view time. But with that being said, I will add in a bonus. This show had so many different angles that it was hard to remember all of them. And it just seemed like they crammed everything into one night when they really could have waited a little bit. And I will get into that more in a minute. So, at number 3, it is Chris Statlander's heel turn after Willow Nightingale lost the AEW TBS Championship to Mercedes Moné. Now, of course, this did mark Moné's in-ring debut for AEW. It also marked her AEW or her in-ring return because she was last seen a year ago, actually, competing in a match in New Japan against Willow Nightingale to crown the inaugural New Japan Strong Women's Champion, right? And they had to call an audible, obviously, and Moné put her over. So, fast forward a year later, Moné is there. And Moné goes over, as everyone and their dog expected that to be. Now, after the match, Stokely Hathaway got into the face of Willow Nightingale because Willow was just kind of smiling afterwards and not really taking the loss that seriously, right? Because she's this lovable babyface. And Chris Statlander pushed Stokely down, defended Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale. And then she attacked Willow Nightingale. You could have saved this for Dynamite because you already had the tease of, okay, there's a little bit of tension between Stokely Hathaway and Willow Nightingale. You could promote an angle of, Stokely Hathaway's apology segment or however you wanted to word that, and then you have the big turn. Instead, we take away from Mercedes Moné's moment and we do this angle. And unfortunately, no one was talking about the angle. They were just talking about Moné's in-ring return. They were talking about Mercedes Moné's big win. No one cared about Chris Statlander. No one cared about Willow Nightingale. And no one cared that there was a storyline that branched off. So I thought that was a major miss by AEW. And it'll be interesting to see where Moné goes from here. Now, at number 2, it is having constant outside interference in the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match with Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. Props to Christian Cage. He is on the run of his entire career. It's the best run he's ever done. It's the best run he's ever had. And it's the best run he'll ever have. And he's doing it at 50 years old. So props to him. Swerve Strickland, obviously, just such an organic over babyface. I mean, what they've done with this guy is so good. But the outside interference was brutal. I talked about this on my results video where at every turn, there was outside interference. Whether it was Prince Nana trying to aid out his guy, whether it was Mother Wayne, Nick Wayne, or Killswitch getting involved to the point where they threw out Prince Nana, to the point where they threw out Killswitch and Nick Wayne and Mother Wayne. And then later on, we had Nick Wayne come out and hit a cutter on the steel steps to Swerve Strickland, despite the fact that he had been thrown out. Then we had Prince Nana run down to the ring to run him off with a freaking lead pipe through the crowd. It took away from the match, and they did their best to build up this match with promos, and I thought they did a pretty good job. And the first of the match, it struggled because they were doing a slow build, and the fans were like, can we just get to the point here? But then we started doing outside interference, and I thought it took away from the in-ring work that these guys were doing. It was kind of a classic situation of 1 step forward, 2 steps back, in the sense of like, okay, these guys are working their butts off. They're doing some pretty good stuff. They're starting to get some heat, and they're starting to get a little bit of the riled upness from the fans, and then all of a sudden you have outside interference and it just takes away from everything. It was just depleting at that point in its return. So I thought that was a major miss. At number 1, it was one of the biggest storylines coming out of this show, which there was so much, but it was the return of MJF, right? So after the opener where Will Ospreay won the International Championship from Roderick Strong, a really good match, a match that also had outside interference, but I digress. We had Adam Cole come out, do a promo, and then all of a sudden lights go out, lights come back on, we see this video package, right, of this guy, he's getting his diamond ring, he's taking a photo of him and Adam Cole, and then MJF comes out. And MJF, who has a completely different look, the man is so tan, he looks brown, he has I don't know how to describe his hair, but it's like, it's rough looking. He's a little scrubbly, right on the old face. He was wearing this jean leather jacket, Triple H light jacket from the early 2000s, and he comes out there and he kicks Adam Cole in the nuts, and then he does a promo about how he's the wolf of wrestling and that he's not going anywhere. He showed a logo of AEW with Bet on Yourself on his right calf that was tattooed. He said that he's not leaving. He's going back to the old MJF. He's not going to trust anyone. And it was good. It was a good promo. It was a really good promo. I loved the promo. I loved the segment. Because Adam Cole, he's not medically cleared to work right now, so it's not like you can do that. They desperately needed MJF back on television, right? Here's the problem I had with it, though. Why did you not save it for Dynamite? Right? Like, you could have handled this a few different ways. You could have had MJF come out and Adam Cole run away. Okay? Or you could have had MJF come out, kick Adam Cole in the nuts, and MJF get on the mic and says, this Wednesday on Dynamite, I'm going to set the internet on fire, right? Do something like that and then just drop the mic. And then you go to Dynamite and then you do the promo. Because now it's, okay, we've seen the return of MJF. Okay, there's 1 week. And then we wasted his promo. There's a second week. So we've wasted 2 weeks of angles in one night on pay-per-view where you're not building an audience. You already have people's money. You can't upcharge them at this point, right? Sure, you're going to have interest from fans to see what MJF is going to do on Dynamite, but we don't know, right? And there was so much that went on that show, and there was so much that happened after this because it was so early on in the show. I don't want to say it felt like an afterthought, but at the same time, it wasn't on the forefront of everyone's minds. Coming out of this show, what was on my mind was the anarchy in the arena and Darby Allin setting freaking Jack Perry on fire with a flamethrower. That was all on top of my mind. So I thought that was a pretty big miss by AEW and Tony Khan. But I expect them to go on Twitter and announce something, but it's like, come on. Have a little bit of a tease. Give me something. Give me a reason to tune in to Dynamite.